I remember being in my cabin the one day. I was sleeping.
Yep.
And Cully comes in my cabin and it's just smoke all of my cabin. And he's like, yo, we're evacuating. Like, we got to get out of here. I have a truck bed just full of garbage bags full of old pounds, trim, and then chickens. We used to harvest at night. So, like, you would kind of sleep all day and then you'd wake up at like 3 or 4 p.m. And then you'd harvest from like 4 p.m. to like 6 or 7 a.m. Basically. It was after harvest and I fell asleep in my other boys, like he lived in like a shipping container. And the storm is just ripping,
You're
bro.
enjoying like not being wet for once?
Yeah. Yo, but I had all my new laundry in my laptop in my tent. And I finally wake up and I go to walk back. It was dude, this is why the hill is such a fickle bitch or whatever. Just because she'll always be like, oh, you like it here? F you. Oh, you like it here? F you. Yeah, so the one wildfire that was the biggest one that they ever had, the August complex. This was honestly like a military mission. I will never forget this.
It was a straight military
Sends me a Google map, like, screenshot. And then with like a route he drew on there, right? And so he's like, you go to town, go buy as many leaf blowers as you can. There was only 2 leaf blowers left in all of town. So I get these leaf blowers. I got to go up this crazy back way, but then there's like a police checkpoint here, police checkpoint here. I'm on walkie-talkies. We're basically going to rendezvous and I'm going to hike up the side of this mountain.
It's the Buffalo experience. I know that you be hearing this. If you never heard of it, you must be delirious. Tapping if you're serious, we working if you're curious. Experience in Buffalo. Sit down and enjoy the show. Let's go. It's the Buffalo experience. Let's go. Yeah, I know that you be hearing this. Let's go. Let's go. It's a podcast. Let's go. Buffalo. It's a podcast. It's the Buffalo experience. Let's go. Yeah, I know that you be hearing this.
This is the Buffalo Experience Podcast. I'm rolling with Big Dave.
I'm Oteeks.
I'm Chuck with the aka the Sushi Sultan.
I'm Cully.
Right.
Hell yeah.
All right, we in here, the Buffalo Experience.
These boys are legends out in Cali, man. For real.
Definitely.
Or maybe they're legends here, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of competition out there, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nah,
so
there definitely is.
So
bro.
we're gonna get into it since we already mentioned that, man. So what were y'all doing in Cali and why like out in Cali? Like, can you explain
You want to go?
what got y'all into that situation?
Man. So yeah, I mean, basically, I got like, went to school with one of my that became one of my good homies, Mikey. He kind of introduced me, to Humboldt and, got me out there. And
Okay, so y'all was staying in Humboldt County?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Literally right.
Nice. Yeah.
Honestly, you've heard of the Emerald Triangle?
Right?
Yeah. So basically where we were, you would go down the street like 20 minutes and there's like the actual spot where like Humboldt, Trinity, and Mendocino meet. Like the actual, what they call the triangle.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, no, we kind of just happened onto it. I didn't really know where I was going. I just knew I was going out to Cali to grow weed. That's about all I knew, didn't know that much. And yeah, man, we ended up right in Humboldt County, and like one of the older subdivisions up there, the Palo Verde, and that, was the spot, man. We didn't really know it at the time, but that was kind of like one of the most renowned places just because we were so far off the beaten path and just out of the way, man. Like that's where people blew it up the biggest,
Hell yeah.
Especially, medical era and stuff. There wasn't a lot of regulations yet. You just had strength in numbers, And, you had good neighbors. Everybody was doing the same shit.
When did you start? So that was like a while ago then, right?
So yeah, my first year that I went out, it would have been like two years before Chuck came out. It was 2014.
No shit.
Yeah, man. Damn. So yeah.
So when he came out,
so
it was crazy. When he came out, I was just like, "You're a psychopath." Like, because we were both working together for a jeweler, and he was like, and then you go out and he would kind of tell me stories, and I'd be like, "Dude, you're crazy."
I only went out. Yeah, that year I think I ended up going out like end of July, early August. Basically just kind of helping like trellis plants and stuff. And honestly, bro, the first time I went out there, like I had like something to prove. So, like I crushed like a 14-hour day. It was, 100 degrees out, and I gave myself heat stroke real bad. And,
Damn.
And I was next to a bunch of these Mr. Nice plants. And to this day, I hate that smell of that weed. And like that shit makes me nauseous. I'm glad people don't really with Mr. Nice anymore. But, But yeah, man, no, it was pretty wild. That first time I went out, didn't even really think I was going to last. Like I was supposed to go out for like 2 weeks, because I had a job at the time. And I was like, I lied. I said I was like doing something random out there. But yeah, man, it was just, that was kind of the start of it. And, definitely like took me a minute, especially coming from here where it was like, I'd fucking just got popped with like an eighth of weed and they like ripped my car. Ripped my car apart. Like, like I had some shit on me. I was like, dude, I got an eighth on me. But no, long story short, it's like, yeah, dude, went out there. It was a little bit of culture shock, like seeing people like, growing a shitload of weed. It's like, how is this okay? But, Yeah.
And too, like to put in perspective too, the story of like for what it came to where he started, and like Cully's basically like, I'm a great grower because of him. Like he taught me everything I know. I literally like took him on as like a mentor. And honestly too, when I first came out, I was a little bit hard-headed, you remember, and stuff. I thought I knew stuff and this and that. And then eventually I was like, I gotta wipe everything I know and just like learn this dude's way because he obviously knows what he's doing. But to put in perspective, bro, when he first went out there, like living out of a tent in your truck for like years, and like now where everything's came now, I mean, he worked his way up to like he bought his own property out there when we were out there too. So like it's kind of like a really crazy story if you think about it, right?
Well, it's
like,
just something that was only supposed to like, I was only supposed to do it for a year, then it turned into like, okay, I'll do this for like 2 or 3 years. I just kind of had these like goals in mind of like however much money we were going to make, whatever, that's where it was going to stop. And then kind of once I got a taste for it, like, that was my life. We went out there, It helped too, because like me and my girl went out together and stuff, and like she could like people weren't really into hiring girls at the time, but they could trim and stuff. So it was like that's kind of how she started. But she proved herself. But basically,
his girl's badass. She's a badass.
She does all the clones, does all the nursery, did all that shit, did a lot of breeding and stuff, man. So that was her whole thing, but. Yeah, I mean, I remember bringing this dude out because it was like, like my first like 2 years out there, I kind of bounced around in some different spots. It like started off as like part-time work, and then I actually got a full-time gig. But that guy ended up like super chill dude, like awesome deadhead guy, real interesting, dude. That guy ate acid every Tuesday.
Did you tell them about your first class?
So it was like, so it was Trippy Tuesdays, and they basically like, there's this local radio station out there, and every Tuesday they'd play like old, live dead sets. Yeah. And so that was his whole thing, fucking eat acid, put on K-Mud, we listen to the Dead, and go out work on plants, doing it, basically that was kind of like my crash course. And that guy was a nut job, but like super chill dude. Really liked me, liked my girl a lot, and like thank God for that, because dude, it was
he's like the type of dude that if he couldn't find you, he's like shooting a gun off in the air.
Yeah, man. Like first day working with the dude, these 2 guys from his partner's farm showed up. They go out, start checking on irrigation, making sure the drip timers went off, all that stuff. And he's yelling, Danny, Greg, they don't hear him. Grabs a 45 off the table, just nodded like in the air, like shoots over him. And I was like, damn. But, luckily I never got shot at. I was good. He liked me for whatever reason. So, we were good, man. But, he was a good dude. But then it was like his partner was also a super good dude, but also like one of the dudes that like blew it up, the biggest up in that neighborhood. And I kind of realized pretty quick it was like just a little too big of a scene for me, man. I mean, I could go on and on about that place. That was it was a lot of fun, but it was a little too rowdy for me. Like literally when I went home to pick up Rachel and shit, because I think you came down to that show. Went to like Above and Beyond or something in the city.
Like at Madison Square.
And I went back out, and the dude had like a army truck, like a 6-wheeled giant like army truck that they use for carrying troops around. Yeah. Had that thing filled with weed. Like harvested with it, had it filled with weed. The dude driving that truck,
like a Modus, right?
Yeah. Dude, fucking misjudged the road. Rolled the thing.
Oh yeah,
with the weed in it,
and people.
It's like some Trailer Park Boys shit.
And people.
It's like real life Trailer Park Boys, right? But and people. He flipped the army truck with people and the whole.
No, unfortunately,
was that on a Tuesday?
If it's real Trailer Park,
that was not on a Tuesday. That was not
I don't know if that was on because you said something on Tuesdays. No, that he rolled a truck with people and weed in it. Like, damn, bro. Like, he might be getting too crazy on Tuesdays.
No, for sure, bro. No, fortunately, he had enough sense on Tuesdays to like not be driving army trucks and shit. But yeah, bro. No, it was that was like I said, man. It was cool. I'll say that much. It was interesting. There was a lot of shit going on. dude had like 80 trimmers, all girls. There was like 14 or 15 dudes that like took care of the gardens and did their shit. So it was a free for all out there, bro. Like, I mean, it was a party every day. You know, it was pretty wild. I'm glad I was there, like, you know, kind of like cut my teeth, like going to festivals and shit. So I could hang, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was all good, but also due to like,
stuff,
you know, kind of like when to pump the brakes, chill, you know, because there's a lot of dudes that like, you know, kind of we all, you know, worked together that year. And honestly, most everybody kind of went off and started doing their own thing after that. But it was like people fell off pretty quick because like the drinking or drugs, whatever, they just couldn't hang, man. It happens.
You see a lot of that out there for sure.
But yeah, no, when I got linked up with my partner, Dan, that was actually my buddy Mike, who brought me out to the hill and shit. Like, he actually introduced me to Dan. And then, Dan got his spot in 2016, and we were working out in Trinity at that point. And then, you know, Dan came up to me and my girl, and we're like, you know, do you want to run my spot over in the Palo Verde back in Humboldt? And it was like, absolutely, man. I love that neighborhood. I want to be up there. And then, I think like mid-July, like we had Chuck come out. He was only the same deal. Like, he was only supposed to come out for like a few weeks, you know, like we had him sorting seeds, like, you know, doing some shit. And I mean, you know, if you took it seriously and worked hard, and Dan came out and like, you know, I was like pulling for him. I was just like, bro, like, you know, give this dude a chance and shit. Cause that was the whole thing too. My boy, you know, my partner let me run the spot, but I was like still proving myself. You know, we didn't know each other that well. He was taking a big chance on me.
Dude, seeing the pictures and stuff that we have of you when you started running that spot.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro. We were like kids.
Yeah, man. So yeah, dude, no, I mean, we were young, man, but no, it all worked out, man. Chuck went through a pretty gnarly half season there with us, because basically he got there in time to, like, you know, just be helping trellis plants, kind of getting us, you know, set up for the fall. You know, the property was brand new at that point, so we had that huge dry shed we had to build out. It was 30.
I swear to God, years of our lives are in there.
Oh, for sure, bro. 30 by 60, big giant metal building and stuff, and like the inside wasn't built out or nothing yet. So it was like, you know, we're climbing up the walls, putting up boards to set up dry lines and stuff, man. I mean, it was gnarly. And that fall, in the month of October, we got 14 inches of rain.
Yeah, it was like an El Nino. Damn. It was like a trench, or what was it, atmospheric river?
Atmospheric river, Pineapple Express. It's like, it's just basically, it's just like, you know, basically blows in off the coast and just cuts in perfectly, because I'm pretty sure it's like there's a bunch of like warm, dry air that comes up from down south, and then that meets the wet air coming down from the coast, and it just pushes it right onto us. And it's, dude, every day, man.
Oh my God, dude, it was so bad. The funniest one too. Okay, so that was basically when I came into the story, was like, so some stuff happened around here. I got in a little bit of whatever. We're not going to go into details. But then I hit him up and I'm like, yo, what have you been doing out there? Is there any way I could come out there? And he was like, actually, I'm going to be home tomorrow. I'll come talk to you tomorrow. So then I met him at his mom's, and he was like, yo, like, he's like, he called Dan, the owner of Rebel, and he's like, yo, can my boy come and work? Yeah. Came talk to me. He called the owner. He was like, yeah, he could come out. We'll need more help. And so then he's like, yeah, just if you can get a ticket for tomorrow, just come right away. So I'm like,
not
all
much
right.
Notice.
Yeah, all right. And I basically just brought a backpack because I didn't know what I was getting into, not knowing that I'm basically getting into like a war scene basically or something.
Well, that's it. That's also how that place kind of worked too. It's just like when opportunity came knocking, bro, you either like answered the call or you didn't, because it was the same thing really with me, because it was like, you know, this dude got into some shit or whatever, and it was just like, you know, we're a close group of friends and stuff, and like, you know, it's just, you know, shit happened, and it was kind of more like, I also kind of took that as like a sign of like, you know, maybe, you know, should start looking around at other shit that's going on.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You know, and that's just kind of how it worked, was just like, I called my boy, and it was just like, basically, if you can come out like right now, you can do it. And then it's like, you know, he got the same, you know, kind of the same introduction to it. And it's like, yeah, dude, it's like the dude came out, I'd like this, you know, me and my girl lived in like, you know, pretty small little studio, you know.
Yeah, but the housing's like dope out there. They're like little cabins in the side of the hill.
It's chill, bro. Yeah. We're up in the mountains, bro. We're an hour from, you know, our nearest little town of Garberville and stuff. And I mean, that's a tiny little town. And then it was like, you know,
Oh, wow. So you guys probably grew more than just wheat and shit, like. Food. And all
that.
Bro. As much, you know, pretty much as much as we can. And the property we were at was super sick, because it was like, was built in like the late 70s, early 80s, actually early 80s for sure, like 82 or something like that. But but had a bunch of fruit trees on it, huge million and a half gallon pond. Like, I mean, it was set up for like what we were doing.
Yeah, it was a really, and like even too, like some of the trees, they had like a pluant tree.
Yeah. And it was like
stuff you've never heard of, but it tastes so good.
And it was cool because it's like over the summer there'd be shit that was ripe that you could eat. You know, it's like because a lot of the stuff too, like the apples and stuff we had down in like the garden that we called the orchard. There's a bunch of fruit trees down there. It was like all apple trees and pear trees, but those things weren't ready until like the fall. But then it was like the pluots and plum trees. And
it was cool when you actually be down there working and you'd be like, oh, this isn't ready, and then you'd be down there like a couple weeks later. You're like, oh, nice, I'm in here. Like,
no, dude, it was,
you know what I'm saying?
It truly was like, you know, like a really like magical spot to be, man. Because it was like we were out of the way, but it was like, you know, and like the neighborhood we were in too, like I said, it was like, you know, one of like the, you know, like I think like second oldest subdivisions in Humboldt County. And so it was like, you know, it was all subdivided into 40-acre properties. And bro, like every property up there, man, there was somebody there growing. And they either had like, you know, just like a small, really chill crew, you know, they only grew, you know, like a few 100 pounds or whatever, or you had spots that were
just
massive and like guys were really going for it. But I mean, that being said, I mean, there was a lot of people up there, man. There was like, you know, and it was nice. That was cool because as far out as we were, it was like, you know, God forbid you ever needed anything, somebody got hurt or, you know, or just, you know, dude, your truck breaks down or, you know, you're in some sort of a jam of generator breaks, whatever. There's like, you know, neighbors to call and like people would be there and stuff. And, but yeah, man, it was just like really to like kind of like fall into that the way we did was pretty wild.
Pretty wild.
It's like, you know, we always loved smoking weed and shit. You know, we were young, you know, skateboard kids and shit, man. So it's like that's kind of was like our bond as kids growing up.
Smoking weed and skateboarding, really.
Going to KB and stuff, man. That was, you know, kind of what, you know, how we all became friends and like, you know, that's just what we did. And so yeah, man, I mean, just to kind of happen into that the way we did was pretty wild. And that was the whole thing with him. It was like, you know, it's like this dude's like a brother to me. Like I wanted him to be like out there experiencing the shit with me and like, you know, being a part of it. So it was like, you know, grateful that the dude came out, answered my call. Cause that was the other thing too. It was like everybody else I worked with out there was like either people I had just met or, you know, whatever. So it was like nice having like one of my homies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was cool. I think that helped me a lot through it too, like knowing that like you were there and shit.
Yeah,
you know?
but yeah, no, I guess getting back to like when this dude first came out, it's like, you know, it's like we had, you know, our little studio cabin and shit and like, you know, it was cool. But then I had this like old platform like behind the house, and I think it might have been for like a hot tub or something, but that shit was obviously long gone. So it's just this like vacant platform, and like, you know, I had an old tent from when I was living in the tent out there.
Yeah,
so basically like just kicked him down like his whole setup to be out there and shit, you know. And
it was funny. I'd be sleeping on his floor. I was like sleeping on his floor, and he's like, I could tell like you. Eventually, I was like, all right, dog, you got to get out in the wilderness. He's like, you're here now. Yeah. He's like, it's gonna be your spot back here.
Well, no, and props to you too, dude. I mean, you just lived in like apartments in the city, so for like they bring him out, like, bro, like we're out in the sticks. It's like, you know, we're out
some of my old apartments in the city, bro, I literally have like pizza box towers, and it's just funny him being like, he's like, I didn't know how you were gonna survive even coming. There's no takeout. Like there's no takeout.
No,
like
how did you survive, bro?
To put it in perspective for you, okay, so like San Francisco's here. Our small town at the bottom of the hill. So a small town at the bottom of the hill from us is like 2 hours from San Francisco. Then once you get to that small town, you have to drive up another hour and a half. Basically like an hour, 45.
Yeah, it's like an hour up to Eureka, and like it was like 3 hours down to San Fran. So it was like we were smack dab, and like there's like no convenient way to get to us.
And then when you drive up to us, you go up a paved mountain, skinny ass road that you think you're gonna drive off for like 45 minutes, and then you go up 45 minutes of dirt road.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, 45 minutes of just dirt road. Yeah, and you're going uphill too for that dirt road.
Oh yeah, man.
Up.
Is that why you got the truck you have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, you'll see his truck. He actually drove his dope truck outside. It's like lifted Tacoma like mine, but with
I didn't even see
it's like a crawler, bro. It's
no, I mean, dude,
I see that's pretty dope. I didn't really look at it too much, but I could definitely see it's not.
I mean, it's a work truck now, bro. I mean, that thing was super nice when I got it, but I've had that for like 4 or 5 years now, and I mean, I fucking rallied that thing around, but it's fun. Dude, that's what I got it for.
Yeah, right, to be able to rip.
But now you're just driving on the street and shit.
No, I was gonna say I feel
it was fun riding out here. It was fun riding out here.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That's cool.
Yeah. How far do you live out from Buffalo now?
I'm out in like South Wales, so.
Oh yeah. I got buddies that live out there and shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Quick trip, man.
South Wales is awesome though.
Yeah,
but you're used to that area, right?
For sure. Yeah.
South Wales, like East Aurora and shit. Yeah.
Dude, but one of the funniest ones about the earlier years during that El Nino was, remember behind your crib when we moved, he built me this dope. It was like a geodome, and then I had a tent inside of that, and we were just grinding, like, you know. And I hadn't got a chance to do laundry. There was like one day where I actually got to do laundry, and all my possessions was basically like my clothes. This like North Face he kicked me down, this Crabman's hat that he kicked me down, and then a shitty laptop that I had.
I'll find a picture of that.
Yeah, you got it. And a shitty laptop that I had. And so I went to go do laundry for the first time I had done it. I'd probably been up there like 2 months now, or like a good amount of time. And I do all my laundry, it's folded nice, and the storm's just ripping, bro. And I swear to God, every morning you wake up, torrential downpour when you wake up. You sleep in a torrential downpour. And the one night,
wet.
And two, not for nothing. And this is back when we used to.
Wait, this is before you had like cabins and shit,
yeah,
right?
This is like my first year. This is like the beginning of everything.
You were in tents during this?
I was at this.
I lived in a cabin, but he was in a tent.
So, damn, okay.
And dude, it was kind of crazy just because we used to harvest at night. So like you would kind of sleep all day, and then you'd wake up at like 3 or 4 p.m. and then you'd harvest from like 4 p.m. to like 6 or 7 a.m. Basically. So it was after harvest, and I fell asleep in my other boys like he lived in like a shipping container, and the storm is just ripping.
You're
bro.
enjoying like not being wet for once.
Yeah, yo, but I had all my new laundry and my laptop in my tent. And I finally wake up and I go to walk back. It was dude, this is why the hill is such a fickle bitch or whatever. Just because she'll always be like, oh, you like it here? Oh, you like it here? Because I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go back to my tent. I go and I just see the top of my tent blowing off. And I'm like, no. So all my laundry that I just did, all soaked. My laptop was fried, but it worked.
I don't even know how the few did that, bro.
Wait, the laptop still worked?
Dude, it worked, but I couldn't charge it or anything. So it just kind of sat there, and I just didn't unplug it or anything. So it worked for like another couple weeks. One morning I get up in my tent and I go to move and I trip over the cord and
that was his lifeline.
It just dried out.
Yeah, my phone was already got everybody's got
he had no contact with the outside world after that. Like that was it. Like, you know, because I mean, I don't even know how you made that laptop work, but I mean, that's how the dude survived. It was just like eating whatever you're eating, and then it was just like movies in his tent. You know, because he had The Sopranos, The Wire, whatever fucking DVDs you had.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
So that year was pretty cool. Oh, and then like the funnier, dude, that barn too. There was just like times where like, so picture like, usually you'd have a barn like that. It would be like framed out into floors, right?
Yeah.
But we kind of like got like tossed into the ringer. Yeah. So it's like, we're not getting any help and we're having to do this ourselves. And then all the weeds obviously finishing. So like you got to like think about everything. And so we have to string all these lines throughout the thing, bro. And there was like one time we're in there and everybody's in there harvesting all this shit. And then I just hear like, doof, one of the lines snaps. So like it snaps on the highest level of the ceiling. So it starts falling down. So I'm like climbing the wall with a screw gun in my mouth. Climbing the wall. Literally climbing like a 60-foot wall, right? Trying to get up there, then finally up there, and I get the screw gun, and I'm like, all right, I gotta do this. And then I literally am touching an electrical like wire that we wired up.
Yep.
And as I'm up there, bro, I see a drop of water strip down, hit the electrical, and I'm like, ah! I was like, I just gotta do this. Like, we gotta save this weed. Like,
well, because that was the whole thing. Is it basically like, you know, like we were off to like a good start. They got the building, you know, like put up and shit. Like I think it was done by like July, but then they're supposed to come spray foam it. Nobody ever came and spray foamed it. Oh, yeah,
because you need insulation.
And then it was like, you know, we were in the fall and it was like, you know, we need to come down. So we made do with what we had. So it's like the barn wasn't wired yet, no insulation, no floors built out. So basically we made a bare bones dry shed, just lines going across. And then it's just, we had a million extension cords going everywhere. Yeah, like power lights, air, fans, D-hums, whatever.
And did we even have a diesel generator at the time?
We did. We got that orange one.
And the orange one. But before we were running off the clapper, the 60K, or the 6,000 one,
yeah, just getting it done. But that was before it even started raining. By that point, it was just like we grew a shitload of seed plants. It was pouring rain. We just needed to come down. There was no like waiting for it anymore. Every day we were finding more mold. Shit was just not going.
We probably lost, how much of that crop do you think we lost that year because of mold?
I think it was like over 600 pounds.
Yeah, it was
dry. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? So it was a lot, man. And like what was sad about that too was like we got into the property late. Like I think he closed down the place in like May. So then it's like we got in there started weed whacking, figured out it was like, you know, I hadn't even, like, I'd seen the property, but I didn't know how many pots there were. There was almost 2,000 pots there. And it was just like, you know, each one of those got to get turned over, planted,
oh my God, that
drip,
was so
trellis, all the shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, not to mention too, that was like my first year, like running like a scene myself, you know, because my partner bought the place. His girl was pregnant with his second daughter. So it was like, you know, they moved back to the East Coast and stuff. So he's like, basically like threw me the keys to the place and was like, you know, get it done. And, but yeah, no, by the time Chuck came into the picture and stuff, you know, we were there, you know, you were rocking out, doing your thing, proved yourself, you know, you stayed for the rest of the season. We're harvesting weed every day. It's raining. Shit's not going great. This dude's climbing all over the walls, getting the shit done. You know, we got a bunch of our trimmers helping. Lines are breaking, you know, some chicks tapping on my girl's shoulder, like pointing at a power strip that's like in a puddle.
It's literally in a puddle. I remember that.
And that's the thing too. It's like obvious, like we're harvesting at night. We'd harvest into those like, you know, black and yellow totes. And so, you know, those things, and like weed's already heavy when it's just fresh cut weed. Then it's just soaked with water. We're trying to pass the totes up, and it's like, dude, like a tuna can. You just like press the tote of weed, squeeze a little bit of the water out. And yeah, dude, it was, you know, it was gnarly. But again, man, it's like we.
Oh, dude, and the other thing too, remember that? So we tried to rent a nice scaffolding because you're in this huge building. But then we bought one of those shitty yellow ones.
Yeah, like an indoor, like a painter's scaffold that you use in your house.
And we stacked two on top of each other. And me and him were the only people who...
Yeah,
we were the only people who weren't like afraid to like climb it. But it was like sketch. It was
you were falling 2 flights of concrete, bro. Yeah. It was not like wouldn't have been a peaceful thing, but it was like, and when the shit would rock, so it was like whoever was up there with you had to like be in sync with them.
It was almost like me and you were such good homies already before that we were the only people who could be on that together.
Because if you're fighting how your boy's wiggling, dude, like you would just tip the thing over. You had to like kind of like rock together and like, you know.
As somebody that's been on a lot of scaffolds in my life,
you get it completely.
Pro tip, you gotta nail it to the wall.
That's what we learned at the end. We grabbed the ratchet straight out.
Something. Because those will tip on you.
Oh, for sure.
If it's not secured to anything, you're going over.
No, dude, that was
no matter how flat that is.
Oh, no.
And that's if somebody sets it up properly. Like,
and then you stack two on top of each other.
We just kept calling her Big Bird because she just looked like, you know, from Sesame Street. It's like the big yellow scaffolding. I'm like, all right, let's get on Big Bird.
I'm pretty sure it said right on the thing, like, do not put these too tall. You know, but whatever, man. It's like, dude, the job needed to get done. You know, it's what we had. It's what we had, and we got it done. I think, we hit up the rental place like probably a week into it, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get some like nice big scaffold, and
that was life.
But no, then people would help. It was like going slow at first because nobody wanted to be the dude up at the top, and obviously you got to hang the top lines first, and then you're going down. So you just got to fill everything in, and it was like, it's like, you know, pretty much this dude, we were like the only people that wanted to be up there doing it. And so, you know, we got it done, and man, that was just kind of the proving ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you got
that really was, because it was just like, you know, we pulled it off. We did everything we needed to do. The plants look great. It was just it's farming. You know, I don't got control over the weather. You know, shit's gonna go how it's gonna go, and like that year it didn't go. It just was not.
Yeah, almost sometimes with farming like that, it's almost like risk assessment where it's like, okay, cool. Even if everything goes to shit, like what do I have after this? You know what I mean? It's because you never know. Like even leading into that too, like the year with the wildfires that we had a couple years later was even crazy like that because there was
that's something I kind of wanted to get into was like, you know, because you guys are up in the mountains and whatnot. Like that's.
Yeah. So the one wildfire that was the biggest one that they ever had, the August complex. We were out there during that. And honestly, I remember being in my cabin the one day. I was sleeping. And Cully comes in my cabin and it's just smoke all of my cabin. And he's like, yo, we're evacuating. Like, we got to get out of here. You know what I mean? Because literally, so there's like a river called the Eel River that goes through kind of our neighborhood. And basically the fire was projected to push right up to that. And like, thank God to these crazy cowboy ranchers, dude, who came through and kind of like plowed trenches and stuff. So basically we had like 2 stop points. It was like the trenches that they had, then the river. If it jumped the river, it was going to take our whole entire neighborhood up.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like kind of like basically like kind of like south and east of us, it was all, you know, like federal land and shit. So when like the wildfires get into that shit, they don't do anything to it because they just let it burn. So then it basically was coming up on our neighborhood. And like Chuck said, it was basically like there were some ranches on the other side that had a bunch of dozers and stuff, cut fire line basically to like slow it down. And then it's like, yeah, the Eel River was like our fire break. And it was like everybody in the neighborhood, you know, we were under an evacuation order, which, you know, everybody had to get out. I brought you actually back up I think that first night and shit, and you and me stayed up there and stuff. And it was just, you know, we had water tanks and shit, but it wasn't enough to like leave the plants for,
there's stuff that you're not going to like, you're never like, oh, tomorrow your neighborhood might get burnt down. So make sure you have all of your water filled to the brim in case you're not here for days.
No, and it was
like nobody tells you that.
That was stressful because I mean it's like, dude, it was still, you know, despite it being smoky and everything, it was like, you know, still 90, 100 degrees. I mean, that's why the wildfires were so bad. And yeah, man, I mean, it was just, you know, you still had to get shit done.
The way I rode through, okay, so because obviously I have police checkpoints in the neighborhood because they don't want anybody coming in and out. Yep. And Cully's like, we got to salvage because if this place burns to the ground, like we got to be able to restart. So we're just grabbing everything that we need, but it's so funny. So I rolled through the police checkpoint. I got like garbage bags full of like,
trim.
I have a truck bag just full of garbage bags full of old pounds, trim, and then chickens. In the truck.
Yeah, all of our chickens. We had like 14 chickens, I think.
I never thought I'd be rolling.
Everybody had their own responsibilities because it's like my girl had to roll out with all of our documents, my dogs, all the shit. You know, Chuck was leaving with the chickens.
I had chickens, garbage bags of
any weed, trim, anything that we could have. Because I'm like, dude, if this place, like you said, if this burns down, you know, we need to salvage anything that's worth something out of this place. So
I never thought I'd go through a police checkpoint with garbage bags of weed in the tailgate of my truck. And they're like, all right, buddy, go.
It's Humboldt. Yeah, he definitely wasn't the only dude driving down the hill with fucking some weed in the car. That's for sure.
Dude, the funniest part about that whole thing, because obviously we evacuated, this is just kind of like whatever. This was my favorite part about it. And if the person watches this or knows who he is, he'll know what I'm talking about. The microwave, bro. We're staying at his boy's house, and I've been up there for so long that you can't use a microwave because we have we're on solar and generators.
Off grid, so
you know. So up there, we're kind of all stressing out, and it was after. So we went up one night. He stuck me back in, and we're up there, and he's always looking out for me, and he's just like, bro, because I was up there doing stuff, and there was literally like ashes falling from the sky that when they're hitting the ground, they're still burning. Like
hot ash.
So that hits anything. It's just. And he's just like, bro, I can't bring you up anywhere. I couldn't, like, if anything happened to you, I couldn't, like, tell your mom that, da-da-da-da. So I'm down there. I'm just, like, super nervous at our homie's house, just kind of putting everybody up. And he's like, yo, Chuck. He's like, what would make you happy right now? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, do you got a microwave? And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, all right, let's go to town and get a bunch of dirty ass food from the store. And I'm just there was nowhere to put it. So I sat down his back porch. I had this microwave up and I just kept cooking pizza logs.
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs. Yeah. Other stuff that I couldn't eat because you don't have a microwave.
No, it's weird the shit you miss, bro. It's like, it's definitely like this, you know, definitely the food's a big one.
But then it was kind of crazy because then he was just like this, like I'm sneaking up in there and I'm kind of staying up in there. And obviously the whole fire is happening. So your whole crop is just getting dusted with ash, like the whole entire time.
It's just smoky as shit too. There's no escaping it. You know
and the cops joked when we went through. They're like, "Oh, looks like it's going to be the Smoky OG here." Yeah. And it's like, you know what I mean? It really was. Yeah. But he calls me the one day and he's like, yo, because he had like a little route he could sneak me. This was honestly like a military mission. I will never forget this.
It was a straight military fucking mission.
He sends me a Google map, like screenshot, and then with like a route he drew on there, right? And so he's like, you go to town. Go buy as many leaf blowers as you can.
Leaf blowers.
And then he's like, you're going to meet me over.
The backpack blowers to like blow the ash off the plants. Because, dude, it was literally just raining ash. Like, so, I mean, it's like, it looks like you took your ashtray and just like sprinkled it on the buds. So that's like the only thing you could do was use a leaf blower to like, you know, blow as much of that shit off as you could, salvage
whatever.
It.
And he's like, so I went to town. There was only 2 leaf blowers left in all of town. You know, everybody. He's like, he called me, so you got to go there quick because he's like, people are buying these things. And I know they are.
Yeah, grab buddy from Rachel. Go to Daisy's. Grab whatever leaf blowers they got.
Shout out Rachel too. Shout out Rachel too
for sure.
And So I get these leaf blowers. I got to go up this crazy back way, but then there's like a police checkpoint here, police checkpoint here. One of our boys, I got caught, like ripped through the one police checkpoint with a handgun and all this stuff. So like they're super locked down. And so I pull up to like the one checkpoint, and then I pull up to our boy's house where it was like the first spot on the map that he marked. And like, I'm on walkie-talkies. We're basically going to rendezvous, and I'm going to hike up the side of this mountain while with
the leaf blower.
Yeah, and we have 2 leaf blowers and respirators because you can't breathe.
Yeah, where we're using walkie-talkies because there's no cell service. Like, because basically my buddy's spot was just like right on the other side of the roadblock because he was in Mendocino County. So it was like literally like right above his driveway. They had the cop blocking the road because that's where the evacuation order started. You know what I mean? And so I got all my neighbors lined up out there, like trying to get in. Nobody's getting in. Fucking tell Chuck, go down to my buddy's spot. He lived right next to a rancher that owned like a shitload of property out there. And basically, Chuck hiked up through the woods, like a total unfamiliar place, mountainside with 2 backpack leaf blowers on them. You know, it's like, dude, you could probably see maybe like 25, 50 feet.
You can't
it was that smoky, dude. It was like a war zone.
We set like a rendezvous point. And it's just like, once I kind of get to this point, I'm going to be in walkie-talkie service. And then we can kind of like keep linking up. Cully hiked down. And dude, it was like, you're literally hiking up the side of a mountain. You can't breathe. So like, we're walking like, I don't know, 5 minutes stopping. Like resting so we can breathe.
Well, and then walking not to mention it's like we're walking through somebody else's property out there, which is like kind of like, you know, already a little iffy. And it's like the ranchers like are known for like protecting their cattle. So it's like, I don't know if we're gonna get shot at.
Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck's
like,
even gonna happen to us or whatever. So it was just like, you know, pretty risky shit, but it's like the dude pulled it off. I met up with him like halfway through this, basically like a field down at the bottom of the hill there. And then, hiked all the way back up, got in my buddy's car, drove him back to the farm.
And then literally just started leaf blowing.
Yep. And then I think 2 days later or whatever, too, because it's like they didn't lift the evacuation order. It was like we hiked the other dude, Andres, that was on our crew, my girl, the dogs through, because it's like everybody's so tired of waiting to come back. So everybody just came back, but...
And too, you were doing mad community service up there too. It was dope having them up there during the fires.
Because a lot of people just evacuated and couldn't get back in. So it was like I was going over to neighbors' spots, running their water pumps for them, making sure that their water tanks had water, or else you're going to lose your crop that you've been working on for 6-8 months. You know,
right.
So.
Damn.
So. Yeah, it's kind of cool seeing that community come together a lot of the time. I feel like it's pretty cool.
So how long did you guys have to evacuate for at that point?
I think like by then it was like we were probably like 5 days into it, I would say, because
like a week.
There were like 3 or 4 days it was like really gnarly that like, you know, it was like really could go either way because it's just how the wind's blowing. Like he was saying too, there's a river there that's like kind of a fire break, but like it was only going to take a hot ash jumping
Literally.
over and if that would have gotten into our neighborhood, it would have burned clear to the 101 in town and would have been gnarly. But fortunately it didn't. You know, It was like we were right there though, man.
It was so close,
stopped,
bro.
I think it stopped like a mile, 2 miles from us.
Dude, and stuff like that's crazy too, because it kind of like starts to put things into perspective for you. Like, man, like everything could just be gone tomorrow, bro. You know, so like love everything that you have. Be super grateful for everything that you have.
No, it's just where we were, man. I mean, it was just like that place could go from like the most peaceful, awesome place you've ever been to like a war zone. Like that,
I think that's one of those things you gotta learn in life, man. My dad kind of put me onto that super young, because I don't know, it's kind of a sad story, but my dad lost his dad when he was 10.
Yeah, shit, damn.
And my dad's still up about it to this day.
Oh, for sure. It's like your best friend,
years
bro.
old, like 50 years later, you know?
Yeah, man.
But like that's the thing is you got to be grateful for the times that you do have because you never know when shit's gonna pop off and
dude, for sure,
shit's completely different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
For sure.
That's like you know you're a kid, you're 10 years old, and you lose a parent. Like you don't think that could ever happen when you're a kid.
No.
And then it happens. What do you do?
Yep.
You know?
Definitely, bro. Definitely.
So you gotta be great. Gotta be grateful for the shit that you do have, but you gotta be prepared and know, like, you know.
Nah, for sure. Even
shit can always pop, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
No, that's life, man. It's one guarantee.
Even now, talking it out, bro. I'm mad grateful for the experiences we had out there.
So I always tell people, you know, when I hear people complain about all this, I'm like, bro,
shit could always be worse, man.
You're so ungrateful right now because it could be so much worse.
Oh, for sure. Your neighborhood could get lost in a fire tomorrow. Like anything. Or like anything could happen.
Exactly
or like,
my point.
What about these random people you hear walking through the parking lot?
Your entire life at that point is living on this farm, growing all your everything that you need and whatnot, and then like that, everything's gone. Yeah, and you don't got even a tent to camp in or nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
can't even do your laundry, bro.
Yeah, for real.
You don't even got clean clothes. You're gonna go naked for a couple of days? Like what the fuck?
Dude, honestly, I just started wearing wet shit. Honestly, well, I don't know what though. No,
I think at that point I just get down to the loincloth.
No, well, you gotta think. All these are out here like. He's got straight, like, full Carhartt fatigue, rubber suit, everything. Everybody's got that. And then I just got, like, North Face jacket.
Air Maxes.
Air Maxes. Dude, those Air Maxes, bro, oh, my God. Those are, like, the most clapped Air Maxes I've ever had. Just, like, re-wet, re-worn. The bottom was falling off.
Yeah.
I just still did those. Rolling my ankle every 2 seconds.
Yep.
Or what about the sandals the one year, bro?
Oh yeah, my God. The straight Jesus walkers.
Yeah, his girl, dude, because there's Costco up there, right? His girl would always just, like, give me a surprise from Costco because she's, like, goated. And she got me these like fake Tevas, like sandals, you know? And I started wearing them, yo, and I love those things so much and they kept ripping. Dude, there's probably like, I'd say like 30 zip ties on each of them, just holding them together. And then there were so many zip ties on them that I'd be walking. I wore them into town the one day, and I'm walking. I'm like, why do I keep like almost falling? I'm like, oh yeah, it's basically like you got like soap shoes on. Every time I stop, I'm like, oh.
It just became a flat piece of plastic.
Wait, hold on. Did we just gloss over? You zip tied your shoe together?
Dude, we use zip ties for everything.
Dude, just you had to make that shit work, man. It definitely.
Honestly, if there's any real weed growers watching this right now, they know what we're talking about. You use zip ties for everything.
Yeah,
literally everything. Yep. Everything. We probably go through like
a few thousand.
Yeah, like in a good year, how many do you think we go through?
I mean, I bought those bags of 1,000. I mean, we at least I'd say at least 6 to 8 of those bags.
Yeah, I'm not proud to even say that.
No. I mean, it sucks, man. It's fucking, it's a lot of plastic. But no, I mean, dude, it's a necessary evil, man. It gets the job done. It's holding the shoes together, putting up trellis, whatever we needed. Man.
Yeah, my pants were zip tied, my shoes.
Oh yeah, the makeshift belt, whatever you needed, man.
Everything was zip tied for me. Glasses, I think I had a pair of sunglasses zip tied at one point. Yeah.
Well, no, it's just, you're totally like utilitarian out there too, because it's like there's no like running to the store quick. You know what I mean? Like your shit breaks, it's like you're either got no shoes or you're gonna like tape it up, zip tie it, whatever it is. Like, you know.
No, for real.
Yeah, you probably had to actually plan a trip to the town. To like
for sure.
Yeah.
You well, no, and he came out like he doesn't have a car, so it's like one of those things. It's like, bro, like if you don't have a car, you're waiting pretty much until like somebody can take you, or you're just giving somebody who's going a list.
Yeah.
To like grab your shit. So I mean, it's like there was probably, honestly, you probably went like 2 months without even like leaving the actual hill.
Yeah, like that laundry story I told, that was literally the first time I ever left the farm. You know what I mean? Like,
because we had a little general store that was like 25 minutes, and it was like, you know, you could get gas there, you get soil.
We gotta shout out the Harris store. Shout out the Harris general store.
Yeah,
for real.
No, and they had food and get beers or whatever, but I mean, it wasn't like, you know, and it shit pricey. I mean, it's like, A, you're in California, but B, all the way, you know, 45
they know
minutes
that
from town.
For real. Oh, but the best thing about that store too, bro, we had this one homie who came out there, who was working with us like in the later years. And dude, this store was like, what was it? Like an unlimited, like it was like a magical cupboard or something. Cause like you would be like, you'd almost go in there and pray. You'd be like, all right, I need bed sheets. All right, let's pray. And then you go and look around the store everywhere, and you'd be in a corner, you'd be like, oh, bed sheets. I'm like, nice. Or just like any random stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or you'd be like, it was just kind of funny.
I think the bed sheets were Jay's biggest
that was the biggest score.
Yeah, because no, that was just like, dude, there's no way in hell, like maybe like they have like a pack of socks there. You know what I mean? You might get busted with a pack of socks, but it's like, no, I'll be damned, dude. He found bed sheets, but like these guys would find shit, because it's like, dude, I go to that store every day. It's like I'm buying beers, I'm buying like rolling papers, you know, like they had like milk or butter, like, you know, the basics.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's all I was really getting.
And you're buying like a $20 gallon.
Yeah, no, and then it was like the dudes would come back and it would just be like, have like a box of shit, bed sheets, a shower curtain.
Yeah, you'd be like, where do you find this shit? Or I swear to God, they would just, I love that store. Or they're just the different prices on everything. Yeah. That was my favorite. Like, you get like all the same, there'd be like a stack of blocks of cheese, all the same exact block, but like the one on top's like $11. And you look through and you're like, oh, $6 one. I'm like, can I get a lower one or?
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, you check through this. The
price would just change.
It fluctuated.
Yeah. Like it costed this much more to get this cheese here. This
day, yeah. No,
damn.
Yeah, no. Shout out Harris store.
Yeah, shout out to Harris. I love the Harris store. Shout out everybody there. Yeah,
it's funny too because Chuck's told me like stories, but we've never really sat down and really like dug in like this. You know what I mean?
And I mean, dude, we only have an hour. We could literally talk about this probably. We haven't even dove in. Really.
No.
Because you guys were really just talking about like the first time you went out when you were there, and then the fire. How long after was the fire? Was it still the first season?
There was maybe like a 2-3 year break.
That was 2020 was like the really bad ones. Like I was saying, it was like 4 years. 5 to 6 years, you'd get like a really bad one that got really close to us. Like every year you had fires and shit, but it was like every few years. You know, you'd get one that came close. And I mean, honestly, too, we were really lucky because it's like we had a little volunteer fire department in our neighborhood. So any like small shit that started on somebody's property, there was somebody there to, you know, come put it out and stomp it out before it became a big problem.
Yeah. Because that's how those fires start, right?
Oh, for sure, man.
A little fire anywhere. Yeah. And then it just spreads.
Oh, yeah. No,
especially with dry. When it's like the driest point of the year. Yeah, that shit'll just heat up.
Damn.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. What was the first year you won the Emerald Cup? You want to preface what the Emerald Cup is and stuff, just for people who don't know what it is?
So, yeah, I mean, just like the Emerald Cup's like one of the kind of like longest standing, like more reputable, like legit, you know, weed contests, you know, there was. It started off at like Area 101, this like small spot. This dude, Tim Blake, owned it and stuff. And that was kind of like, you know, where stuff started. You know, Dan entered a bunch of stuff, like, because I think Dan got out there like 2000, like early 2000s, I think like 2008, 2009, something like that. And so it's like, you know, he was starting to do that stuff, but it was like super kind of local, like that wasn't really big, you know, obviously too, it was like, you know, a lot of the stuff out there, like, you know, especially when I first got out there, like people weren't like real open about, you know, everybody, you kind of knew what everybody was doing, but like you didn't really talk about it, bro. There's definitely like kind of a rule at the farm I worked at, you know, you didn't like, if you wanted to take a picture of a plant, you could, but like you didn't like get any background or like definitely not your face in it or anything. Cause it's like nobody, you know, that was still at a point where it was like, you know, the cops were still coming up and like, you know, busting.
This is a classic pose when I'd see Dan. Shout out Dan too. He's a real one, but he'd always be like this.
Yeah, cover
in front of just like a massive plant. Like, yeah.
No, it wasn't honestly, I think until like, you know, really like 2018 that it was like kind of like getting a little more comfortable being like, you know, it's when, you know, Prop 64 went through and that's kind of like when it went from like medical to recreational, which is like, you know, probably the worst thing that ever happened to weed out there. But like, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's when you could kind of like, you know, I was posting pictures on my Instagram at that point and, you know, kind of like being a little bit more, you know, because that's at the point where it kind of mattered to like have a brand and, you know, doing that stuff. But yeah, so I guess, yeah, back to the Emerald Cup though. It's like that year, I think the first time I think it was like 2017, we got something that finished like, I don't know, like top 20. I think it was like, we got like 15th, 14th, something like that. And then I think 2018 or 2019 was when we got our first like second place finish. And then because Dan, you know, bred the seeds that, you know, where our selection came from, the clone that we had, the Double OG Chem 15, that got second place. And then we won the Breeders' Cup as well. So, because, you know, that's kind of like if whatever's in the top 3, if you bred it, you know, you won the Breeders' Cup too.
Yeah, that's tight.
You know what I love about like the weed culture?
What do you love, Dave?
I love the names.
You do?
I love the names.
Dude, that's one of the hardest things.
What did you just say? Double OG Chem 18?
Or was that, so the 15,
that's like a real spiel name, though. That's
15. So
that's
so
like Double OG Dog Piss Cat Crack. Or like,
the names go on and on.
That's the cringe alert, Dave. I told you I was going to give you an alert. That was the cringe alert. The cat crack.
Yo, man, I got some of this dog shit, man. This shit's fire.
Dog shit is like an OG.
Well, yeah, there's
cat piss.
You're thinking about cat piss, Dave, not cat crack.
No, listen.
It's like a South Park episode.
Hold on, it sounds weird. It sounds weird, but that's the thing about it is you breed green crack and cat piss.
There you got fucking
cat crack.
Dave.
Or green piss. I mean, depends on how
Dave. That was the cringe alert, though.
No, but that's the thing. It's like, you know.
Oh no, I'm just saying for sure.
Yeah, I just think it's funny because like the genetics, 15 years ago it used to be like OG, Kush or whatever, and now it's like you got like Thunderfuck OG.
Yep.
Train wreck Kush.
I feel like honestly, it's like weird because it's like now it's like because everything's all candies and stuff, so it's like the whole like
candies or
whole thing's like shifted because there's like a lot more crude names. I feel like you know back.
And you want to know what though too? Like what we're known for out there specifically is like we grow gas and we grow OG. Like we never really conformed. Like there'd be years where people would just be like, oh, I don't want green weed. I don't want. We always just stuck to that because it's like, dude, like when you sit back and you think about when you were younger and you opened up a bag of weed and it was the best weed you've ever smelled and smoked. What was it, gas or fruity? It's always gas.
Well, no, it's just sours and OG, man. It's like that's what that neighborhood honestly was really built on was OG. Because that's what everybody grew, it's what everybody wanted because it yielded and the shit got you stuck. Like, you know what I mean?
For sure. And tastes good. Wasn't that like the first neighborhood too that like the dudes from Vietnam like smuggled the seeds back?
Well, yeah, because that was the whole thing. Is like everybody, a lot of people just had like bag seeds from like Mexican brickweed and stuff. So a lot of those are just like kind of sativas, like big, bushy plants that like finish really late. So then it was the dudes that like went overseas to, that were either deployed or just took trips over there to like Afghanistan and shit that got like, the real Kush strains.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Brought that back, bred those two things together. And then that's kind of like where, a lot of those, those lineages kind of came from and started because you're just selecting for some stuff that would like finish a little bit earlier, get a little denser, had a little bit better leaf spacing and stuff, because that's the thing too, man. You have like really bushy plants with a shit ton of leaves, like, your mold issues, powdery mildew. There's a bunch of shit that can kind of arise from like having just too much foliage on the plant. You want that airflow.
Yeah, you do
and stuff. So that's kind of where the whole breeding side of things came into it. And that's kind of what Chuck was touching on too, is like what we were known for was growing, chems, OGs, sour, all that stuff. It's like that's what we were good at. That's what we were known for. Dan, my partner, that's, Rebel grown, that's, his genetics and stuff were, what we grew. And so it's like, touching on like that double OG Chem 15, that's the reason why it's the number 15. It was just the 15th seed that we started of that, grew that plant out, took clones off everything, smoked the weed that first year. It was like, oh, this is the shit. Grew it out that next year. And then that became kind of like one of our staple clones that we would, grow every year. Yeah. But I'm trying, honestly, I feel ridiculous that I don't even know what that was. It was, I want to say, I think it was 20, I think, the weed that we grew in 22. So that Emerald Cup, I think that was the first year that they started having it in LA. They only did it, I think, for a year. So I think we won first place in 23, but it was weed that we grew in the 2022 season and stuff. And, but yeah, man, it was just like we, that like my partner Dan was like super into the Emerald Cup, like really good homies with Tim Blake, loved what that dude was doing and like, kind of pushing for, and that's something I got to give Dan credit for is like, everybody out on the hill that was growing weed, it was like, you had a good season, you were good, your weed was going to sell, you're selling it for good money and stuff, you did your year out there. And you were good, but like now how much like the culture shifted and weed's legal, everywhere. You don't need to be just up in Humboldt to, be growing weed or smoking weed anymore for that matter, all that stuff. And, so that was his kind of vision earlier on was like having the brand, so it's like, he had his genetics and that's what he was focusing on. But then like, once California went recreational and stuff, that's when he started kind of focusing on, having a brand, selling our weed in jars, having it. So it's like just like a normal dude that, wanted to like, saw us on Instagram or whatever, wanted to smoke some of that weed,
Yo, that's why it's kind of crazy. Has it been crazy being back in New York for you too? Because that's why it's kind of crazy being back in New York for me when I first was coming back was like, I don't know, you see all this stuff, all the hoops everybody's jumping through, the trials and tribulations, the branding. Like, we already went through all that stuff, out there. Like, and it kind of like, it's kind of crazy seeing all of it happen, like, kind of like manifest around here. But it's kind of like we were going through it maybe like, 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it was just, it's just like a different game now. You know what I mean? It's like awesome, like legalizations like kind of happening and, the vast majority of states now, it's like at least legal to have weed on you,
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's like, that's cool. But it's like also too, it's like the cultures have shifted so much, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media. A lot of it has to do with the, like younger generations coming up and stuff. Cause how like Chuck was saying about gas and stuff, I think it's like funny nowadays, like gas isn't really like talking about like a smell or like, kind of strain wise. It's more, it's like, oh, if that weed's good,
that's crazy.
Gas,
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like, that's kind of weird to me because it's like, the generation we came up with, it's like, that's like when I hear gas, like I'm thinking more, it's like, oh, that shit's going to smell gas.
Yeah, like I'm smelling a gas can right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you open a bag and you can smell it across the room.
Yeah, man.
But it's like that strong, potent, like stank smell that
I think he's thinking of literally like, what do they call it? Sour diesel. Or literally would smell like
fucking.
It's like diesel.
And I miss the flavor of it too, like the flavor of the weed from way back when, like.
For sure.
Well, how old are you?
I'm going to be 36, 35 right now.
Okay, so you guys are a little bit older than us, but like he's 31, I'm 30, so it's close. We're like when we were 16.
Yeah, man.
Like you guys were like 20, 21.
And
so
you
we
were
all going through the same.
Yeah, you were
We were just getting weed from guys like
yeah.
you because you were older and like you had a car and we were too young maybe to drive. But we were all in the same thing where we were buying baggies in the hood, but they would have like sour D.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like, dude, the taste of some of that shit, dude, it was just so good. But like, it wasn't like all these weird different flavors and shit that you would get like that. You would know. Just a couple different strains. Or like the Blue Dreams and like just the real straightforward strains.
Dude, and it's crazy even talking about that just because it's like even nowadays too, like, and that's why I kind of respect you guys a lot too, just because like, there's a lot of these strains that are just gonna be gone. Like now with everybody crossing everything into everything and this and that, so it's weird. Like I feel like the value on that, like, in the future is going to go up more just for connoisseurs and stuff who's like, who has some real sour?
Well, like, that's just it. There's like very few
real OG.
No,
real
exactly.
OG. Like we
there's
do.
Like very few people that have like good cuts of sour anymore, any of that stuff. And I mean, it's kind of sad in some ways because it's like new people out there that held a clone for like, 15, 20 years. Yeah. And like, a lot of those people, because it just wasn't as profitable to be growing OG or like sour, I'd say probably I don't know, like the last like, probably like 6 to 7 years, I would say, it's like that stuff's kind of, gone by the wayside, but it's like, that's the whole thing, man. It's like that nostalgia of like opening a bag and like getting hit in the face with that smell. It's like, dude, that's why, I always had a hard time switching over to, the gelatos, the runts, all these things. And I'm not like hating on those things, but it's like, a lot of these things were like, they just grew well in our climate. You know what I mean? And everywhere, kind of like Humboldt, Emerald Triangle, all that stuff. That's like what makes that place so special, in my opinion, is like all these people, these different neighborhoods and stuff had different microclimates and like certain things, like the dudes that like especially like did a lot of breeding in those areas, like they had shit that came out fire for their region because it's like, if you went over the other, because we were on the west side of the 101, so it's like a lot hotter, kind of drier. You had people that were on like, or sorry about that. We were on the east side of the 101. The people are on the west side that's like, closer, like really coastal, they deal with a lot more fog. They just grew different strains than we did. Because if I tried to grow, shit that we grew over there would mold or whatever, mold right up, 'cause we grow different issues. And then they had stuff that, wouldn't handle the heat as well and stuff. So it's just, that's like the beauty of that. But I feel like what's kind of sad going forward, like now and like how the market shifted and stuff, like a lot of people are forced to, grow gush mints or like, whatever kind of like, mass produced like hype strain there's going around, you're losing out on a lot of these things that like people had that was pretty, pretty special. And don't get me wrong, some of the stuff, it was just, shit that like just wouldn't fly today, that's like just the kind of larfy look and doesn't look the best in the bag and stuff. Yeah, no, and shit that, takes 14 weeks to flower and finish up and all that shit. It's just like, a lot of that stuff's changed and, I feel like, man, it's just kind of like people's palates have just changed. And I feel like a lot of, it's just like the eras of like, kind of like rapper weed and stuff. It's like I remember like listening to Future back in the day. It's like, I got 200 pounds of kush. I'm trying to sell that shit. That's like what I, that's what I drove that or listened to that actually my first time driving weed to sell it. And
you actually had like
you probably
had like 400 pounds. Future's a chump,
but
bro.
No, but touching on what he's touching on too about like the forgotten strains and stuff with the legalization, which is kind of pretty sad. I would say, just because that neighborhood that we were in is pretty historical for weed growing for like the whole entire world, you know? But it's pretty sad to see as the legalization kind of moved forward throughout the years when we were out there. From the time when I was out there to the time I was left, it's less and less people because but then you have these people who are like these mom and pop people who are some of the pioneers of the whole industry, right? Kind of like behind the scenes that aren't going to be able to do it anymore. Well, you know what I mean?
That's like the sadder part because it was like what made Humboldt special was just like, you know, it was just kind of like this outlaw place. And I mean, it was renowned for what it was. It's like people grew weed and, you know, don't get me wrong. It's like, you know, it's like that kind of like, you know, a lot of the old timers out there would call it like green rush because it's like, you know, people that were out there like kind of like, you know, like 80s and 90s and stuff. Those were the people that like really fought for that shit because it's like they had camp.
Helicopters.
You know,
just
and that was like legit, like dudes would drop down from helicopters and like cut your shit down. And like, you know, and that was the time like you were like, if you got caught, you were going to jail. It wasn't like a slap on the wrist, nothing like that. And so it was like, those were the people who were still growing weed, like in the shade and the trees, you know, I had neighbors that had like pots way up in the
pots,
trees.
Like,
and, you know, they would,
guns.
use super soakers and shit to fucking water, feed their plants and stuff. And I mean, you were a baller if you pulled off like 100-pound year, like, you know, but I mean, then again, those guys were like, you know, selling pounds for like five to five, you know, six grand, you know, making real money off the shit. But then it's like, you know, as stuff, you know, kind of just got more and more blown up, then it was like, you know, the 215 days where it was like, you know, you could have up to 99 plants. But obviously everybody up in our neighborhood was like going well past that, you know. And that was the whole thing, man. It's like you had strength in numbers, but that's really what kind of changed was when Prop 64 came into it. That's when the county started going after people with abatements and stuff. And that's when like our neighborhood like really took a huge hit because it was just, you know, people that didn't want to go legal. You know what I mean? They didn't want to have the county out or the state out to like inspect their property, showing them all the stuff. Because it was like really like kind of a surreal thing because it was like, you know, like I said, I got there, you know, in 2014 and like the idea of like somebody coming out to your property to inspect you and all that shit, it's like, oh, hell no. Like, absolutely not. You know, man, we lived behind locked gates and, like, you know, you knew all the people that were
to get to our property, you literally probably have to open, like, 3 gates, basically.
So, you know, like Chuck was saying, it was just, like, you know, you had these people that, like, you know, like, were just kind of like people that had, you know, their nice homestead, you know, they lived out there, you know, didn't want to be bothered by nobody, didn't bother anybody, you know, they just grew their weed, made some money off it, did their thing. You know, that's kind of the sadder part about this. It's like a lot of people that like, you know, had been doing that very long time, you know, kind of got pushed out, whether it was a case of, you know, they either tried to go legal and failed or just, you know, didn't want to do it. And then, like how I was saying earlier on, like how, you know, that big subdivision, there was like every property, there was somebody there growing or at least living there. You know, now, you know, as I was leaving and stuff, man, I mean, it's like that's probably the least populated I've ever seen that place. And I mean, it's pushed a lot of people out. And, you know, it's just kind of like one of the sadder realities. Because, I mean, that's a tough part about it, too, is that, you know, what made that neighborhood what it was, there was one way in and one way out. You know, so it was like, we were, you know, basically like Chuck was saying, about an hour back from town. So like, you know, there was like a phone tree. So if the cops were coming up, they'd come up in big convoys and shit. You would get a call from somebody who was down at the bottom of the mountain being like, all right, they're heading up. And there's like 1 or 2 turns you need to make to get back towards us. So it was like, okay, they're getting off you know, Alder Point Road. They're getting onto Bell Springs. Oh shit, they're getting onto Island Mountain. You kind of knew like when you needed to bail.
And the old timers are hardcore. They would like cut trees. They would like go out with a chainsaw and just cut a tree down.
Cut trees down to like slow the cops down, you know. Like one of I think like the second year I was out there, you know, they raided our neighborhood really hard. They're up there for like 2 weeks, and you know, they would go through everybody's farm and like cutting people's weed down and stuff, and wherever they stopped, you know, whatever farm they got to that night, that's where they would camp and then get up the next day. And so it's like this weird, like kind of cat and mouse thing where it was like they would stop, you know, raiding by like 6, 7 o'clock. We'd go back up, water our plants, sleep, fucking wake up at like 5 a.m, be going down there. It'd be like fresh cops coming up, you know, you're passing them.
Like, who are they hitting today?
Yeah, no, exactly, man. And so, yeah, and there was, you know, people that I actually helped, you know, basically like they knew that they were going to get their shit cut down, you know, the next day or whatever. They were, you know, next because they're just working through property by property. And that was the thing. It's like, you know, one of my neighbors like went over, helped him harvest a bunch of his beds, went to his brother's place that already got raided, hang all the weed in his dry shed. And then the next morning they'd come back to cut his weed down. It was already all gone. So, those were the things that, made me, feel good. And then it was cool too, because there was like a handful of people that like weren't going that big or just weren't in the crosshairs and stuff that they didn't get to. Cause like I said, it was strength in numbers. They couldn't get to everybody.
No way.
And
it's just if you're on the beaten path.
No, exactly, man. And they were definitely looking for some specific people and shit. But what was cool is like all the neighbors always had extra plants. So like when that shit would happen, like a few days later after the cops left, everybody would replant their gardens and fucking keep moving on. Life goes on, But that was it. That was the good old days. Now, now it ain't like that because it's like they've got satellites. They've literally taken pictures of us like every day.
Oh, so yeah. There was like literally one time we added a couple extra pots.
Oh, yeah. We got an email saying it's like, oh, yeah, you're over, because your canopy size out there for your permits all off of, just square feet and stuff. So it's like they could kind of like, triangulate like, okay, this is how much shit you have. If you're over that, they'd call you and be like, you either remove that shit or we're going to, pull your permits or whatever. So and that was a big controversy too, like out where we were. It's like once, stuff started going that direction, there were a lot of people that were like pissed off that like people voted for, recreational, legalization, because it was kind of sold to all of us growers as like, oh, this is going to be like your like path to market and like being able to do retail stuff and all that shit. But in reality, what it was is all that money they're collecting from the permits and stuff, they were using that for enforcement, taking pictures of everybody. And like, Chuck was saying, like all the mom and pops that either didn't want to go legal or, couldn't afford it, whatever reason it was like, those people slowly, kind of got weeded out because that's, you would just basically get fined whoever's name's on the deed for the property. They'd get fined anywhere from 10 grand up to like, like 200,000 a day until it was so obviously because I was like, how are they ever going to stop this? And that's what they did, man. Once they started getting enough money to throw at it, that was.
So is that a big reason? Is there a like main reason why you came back from being there for so long?
Honestly, man, like the weed market out there is really competitive. Honestly, really what happened more for me, man, is I became a dad. Me and my girl had twins, and like it's just, my girl was like a really huge part of what we did, and like she's like a very like key part of it. And like it just got to a point, man, where it's like between, the wholesale price of pounds, like, pretty much in free fall for like, it's really 21 was when the first time the market crashed. And like we've had a few years that like stuff stabilized, man. But I mean, it's like once the weed's getting like at cost or like below your cost, man. I mean, it's like we're
just doing it for sport at a certain point.
And it's like, we were still making a living and stuff. But I mean, it just changed for me, man. It's like it's a huge bummer to say, but it's like that neighborhood just isn't what it used to be. And then it's like for me to be able to afford, like having like this dude out or like, whoever to help me, it was like, at a certain point, like my cost of like growing weed wasn't going down, you know what I mean? But the market itself, was going down, and it just kind of reached a point for me where it was like, it's like, you're just kind of like rolling, and no matter what, you're always rolling the dice, but it's like the risk reward there just, wasn't there anymore. And it was like, but really like what put me over that really, to come back was, having kids and just kind of looking at, the future of just like, like what makes sense, what's going to be best for the kids and, and allow me to be a good dad,
Of course. Yeah, it sounds like you had an amazing run and everything.
For sure, bro.
Who knows? Maybe things will change around here, and maybe there will be an easier way for someone like you who's so knowledgeable, or maybe jobs will open up where you can get paid a sick ass salary to work at some crazy farm or like indoor. Who knows?
We can get takeout.
It would be like working at Amazon, but it's 100,000 plants or something, and like that's what you're doing, and you're getting paid like an amazing salary maybe to do something like that. It could happen. Who knows?
Yeah, no,
for sure. It could be a while until that happens, but people need to recognize like you got a resume, both of you.
For sure.
You got a crazy resume.
We've definitely been doing.
People
need
to understand. In Buffalo, like.
That's why it's kind of
opens up. You either be partner or you need somebody that might know some more shit about growing than these big companies and shit.
I talk to him about it all the time. It's kind of even weird talking to anybody about this, just because like I could talk to him about it because he's seen it. I brought my mom out there, a couple friends, but obviously we're gonna include some media and stuff. But the neighborhood's so beautiful. And all of it, like, our words don't even really do it justice. There's really no way to do it the proper respect.
No, despite everything, bro. I mean, it's a super magical place. Like, I'm grateful, like, like I was able to buy a property, out there and that, in that neighborhood, and like we still own it and stuff. And like, I do plan on returning, eventually and stuff, once the kids get a little older and stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, and that's the other side of this too, is like, I'm definitely not getting out of, growing weed and stuff. That was part of the, what made this decision easier of like coming back to New York was, that weed's legal here now. And, there's like kind of a newer, industry and stuff. And it's like that competition and, all that stuff's coming for any market. You know what I mean? It's just weed's become like a huge, huge thing now. But, at least here right now, it's like everything's still kind of like in an earlier stage where it's like, I saw a lot of like what happened in California, possible, mistakes that were made or like choices that could have been done differently. And, coming back here definitely gives me a pretty big opportunity to like, kind of like look at everything and like, find out like kind of what I want to do next, stuff. And, obviously having this dude involved in it.
Yeah, definitely.
So
always.
Obviously we are the Buffalo Experience Podcast. You knew this was coming.
Ooh, come on, Dave. You already
What's
did
your
the one
favorite part? What's your favorite part about Buffalo or favorite thing about Buffalo? Like why come back here? What obviously both of you are from Buffalo.
100%,
so like,
bro. I mean, food, fucking, dude, there's like, once you cross the Mississippi, bro, like nobody knows how to make a fucking
or
pizza,
even
bro.
try to get a pizza. Dude, you try to get a pepperoni pizza in our town, and it's like the thin pizza's good, but it's like a pizza sauce, a layer of pepperonis that you can't even like see, and then a layer of cheese.
No, dude, it's just like we've debated it for hours, man. I think it's like just like the water or some shit, but it's like, dude, like it's just not the same.
No,
it's just not the same.
Or wings. Oh my god, dude.
No, there's
honestly, him and his girlfriend, they would always bring a little slice of buffalo to us there because they made killer ass wings, and then his girlfriend would because I love what we both do. We love pizza rolls, pizza logs.
Hell yeah.
So she would make dope pizza logs with like out of egg roll rolls. Yeah, we'd do like buffalo nights where we would like stay and eat, and we'd get
people would send us just hot sauces and shit.
Yeah, we'd have hot sauce, barbell sauce.
Yeah, whatever people would send out for us and stuff. I mean, I remember my mom would even get me like the Loganberry syrup and shit. Like we'd do our like little buffalo nights and stuff and fry up some wings. My girl can make a good mean pizza and shit. So it's like we adapted, bro. We made it, but yeah, dude, coming back here though, definitely like the food and the people, bro. That's like the big thing. It's just like a lot of my homies are here and stuff, and it's like I said, bro. I really love growing up here.
And I'm gonna say I've traveled a lot, bro, and there's really nothing that compares to the food here. No. And I know it's super cliche, but there really isn't.
No.
Like once you said, once you get on the other side of the Mississippi, there's nothing.
No.
Or even a sandwich.
I'm not saying they don't have good food, but
there's
it's like
nothing.
it's just not.
You can say it. You can say it. There's nothing.
It's not. It ain't the same. I mean, dude, the Mexican food's pretty fire.
Oh well, that's the thing. Yeah. Okay. So there's a little change up because like you could be in Cali and you'll literally be in the most remote place, and also there's just a taco truck. Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool.
Like some fire ass.
So good with a little picnic table out in front.
So there's some shit.
Oh yeah, you'll survive, bro. But it ain't here though.
It's like you might not be able to get those tacos here, but like we do have some. We have everything here.
But I'm saying toe to toe. I'm saying toe to toe Buffalo versus the whole entire country in food.
Yeah,
we're scrapping. We're probably gonna win. I think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A little taste of everything.
Dude, yeah, exactly.
And like a lot of stuff that's like mastered.
Or even, God forbid, you can just get a sandwich. You know what I mean?
I know, bro. That's like the thing. Like people are just like super sloppy with the lettuce, tomato. Like you know what I mean? It's like you're not getting like nice finely chopped iceberg out there. Like, somebody like looks like they just like ripped the shit off the head of the lettuce, threw it on there like.
Or you ever see that Family Guy episode where they call the pizza place? Like, oh, you want a salad? And he's like, oh yeah, just throw a whole head of lettuce, a whole this.
Should I cut this up? It's like, no, throw that shit in there.
Throw that shit right in there. Put the hot pizza right on top of it too.
Put the hot pizza right on top of the salad.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man, that's awesome. No, we really, honestly, I love hearing it, man. It seems like we really didn't touch everything. I feel like there's so much more that you guys could talk about.
Yeah,
like, Chuck barely even you barely even told like all of it. You didn't even talk about really this season. Like, you had a whole season that you just came back from. Like, we were together hanging out in April, and then you came back. When did you come back? Like September, October.
I will say though,
November.
I will say about this season though, it was dope because it was kind of like we kind of like got the band back together. And me and him were just like, yo, we're doing this. We're doing it right. I had taken a year off. He's like, would you come back? Let's just like give it a go at this. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Minimal people. And let's just kind of get it. Because me and him, we work. I mean, we don't want to always do it, but like me and him could really bootstrap up and like grow a weed.
Yeah,
just
man.
Us too. You know what I mean?
We definitely like, because I mean, that's the thing, man. It's just like so much change, because it was just like, you know, like we had a good run, because it was just like, you know, like, yeah, you came out 2016, worked 2017, you took 2018 off, the 19, 20, 21 was like a crazy run, but then the market kind of collapsed in 21, and then that's kind of like where like stuff shifted.
Well, I was burnt after school because we grew like 10 acres.
No, we had like 5 different properties going that year, so it was like we were bouncing all over the place, and like that's the thing, bro. It's like shit's rugged out there, so it's like some people could hang, some people didn't, and it was like, you know, we made it through the year, but towards the end there, it was like, you know, we still had all the properties we were growing, but then it was like half the crew was gone.
And you'll always see this out there too. It'll just be like people just start dropping like flies. It's like I can't hang.
Once it gets
which is
hot,
all good.
Once it gets hot, man, it's like once you hit like July, August, it's like, dude, it's hot. And you're like kind of staring this thing down of like, fuck, dude, I've got like weeks of this left to go. And it's like, you know, you're either just kind of power through that and get through it, or, you know what I mean, you cop out.
We were always, what would they call us? The wrecking crew or whatever? The other boys up there? Because we were always the ones who were just like, me and him, we just never quit. We just be like, okay, go. Everybody left us. All right, cool, we in this. Like,
well, no, what choice did you have, man? You know what I mean? We set out to do what we were going to do, whether it was like, you know, we had all the people with us from the start, or, you know, we did it with, you know, who made it to the end. But I will say last year that I did was dope, because I feel like those were like some of the biggest like clones, like biggest clones that we had. Definitely like it was good to get like, you know, get this dude back out there, like really like have like a good cohesive season where it was like, you know, we set out to grow a lot of weed and we grew a lot of weed.
Yeah,
you know
it was
what
dope.
I mean? And it was
like
good.
Last year was really good.
It was really dope.
Yeah, it was it was a kind of good closing of the book for me, and kind of like moving forward and moving home, and just honestly too, just kind of like, because I've always done music and stuff too, but then it was weird. My life took this like turn to do that, which was dope, because I always had a little like recording setup in my spot, and I've always been grinding. But it's been pretty dope to just be able to do that, kind of take a breath, get to close the book in like a positive way, and then kind of move into like really trying to work on some of my other passions and stuff, you know? So I'll always grow weed,
It was perfect timing too, man, because, you know, like I opened the studio, you got your own spot. It was kind of like closing the book, but then opening a new book that like you didn't even know really was going to happen.
And because now it's wild.
And you finished school, and like you did a lot of shit. You've been doing a lot of shit with music now.
Which is tight.
You just like, you're gaining your knowledge on just something else that you have such a big passion for now. So it's really cool, because we definitely should do like a Chuck like music episode.
Oh, we will in a little bit for sure.
Just thug out.
Oh, for sure.
Let's talk about that.
I'm always thugging out, man.
Yeah, I know, but this is so like
it's so informational.
This journey that you were on was so like, it was almost like magical and like so like unbelievable almost.
Right.
Like,
for me even too. Yeah.
But the music shit is more like what you came up from and how you came up. How you even got into knowing anything about weed. Right. It was because of the back in the days. Like
right.
How, you know.
Yeah,
and now too, bro, it's all kind of pretty serendipitous, even to like, I've always wanted this dude to come home, and even when they were having the kids, they were kind of gonna not. And I'm so thankful that I'm just grateful that it's just, everything's super serendipitous. Like I said, it's grateful. Like I'm sitting in this new studio that you and me have, that like you got an engineer here. I have my own studio downtown. I'm sitting here with my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Awesome.
Like life's good.
No,
there's really nothing.
Yeah, and it's nice that you're here now too, dude. Maybe we'll be seeing each other some more.
For sure.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
Because we doing the party here, for sure.
Brothers, like,
we doing the party here, for sure.
We do, man. And it's really nice to have you on.
Yeah, no,
and like telling some of your story. Obviously, there's so much more to it.
So much.
Yeah.
I feel like we touched on a lot of good stuff, right?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish we had more time, because like which we could get into it, bro. Like honestly, the goal would be to just let's try and get this out and get your stories out.
Yeah.
As best as we can as a team.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it gets good reach and people that you knew from Cali and people you knew from Cali and everything,
if it
gets
pops
good
off,
reach,
we'll
do episode 2 right away. We'll get right into
we gotta send it to the. We shout out to Harris. We gotta send it to the Harris.
Shout out, right now. This camera right here. Shout out anybody that you want to shout out right now.
You go first.
Let's do it, man.
I'll piggyback off you.
Shout them out, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess, obviously shout out my girl, shout out Dan, shout out my buddy Juice, fucking Barrio.
Yeah.
I mean, really the whole Palo Verde, the whole neighborhood, Harris Store, Rob.
Harris Store, Rob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy Jason, fucking Ridgeline
Farms. Yeah, you got that cross. Like, didn't you guys do a cross with because they won the cup and you guys won the cup, and then they crossed both of those winners together.
Yeah. Oh shit!
Which is tight. Yeah, that's some good. Yeah, that's some good. It's a
Ridgeline Farms.
Yeah, shout out
Southern
Ridgeline.
Humboldt.
Yeah, man.
Damn. That's crazy, dude. How do you
gotta like kind of pry it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can just open it. That's fucking.
I see the tab. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Nice, dude. Yeah, that's awesome. So Rebel Grown is the company, right?
Yep.
So shout out Rebel Grown.
Shout out Rebel Grown.
You know, you'll see the logo in the bottom corner here.
Yeah,
you gotta keep Rebel Grown is pretty much like that was pretty much who you guys were the whole time, right?
Yeah. Where
from the bottom to the top, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Shout out you guys, man.
I'm gonna shout out Big Juice again, honestly. I love it.
Big Juice.
Yeah, Big Juice. Shout out my girl.
Yeah, for real, your girl too, man.
Yeah, shout out
holding it down at home while you were gone all years at a time. Sometimes
crazy. Yeah, she would always be out there with me though too.
Yeah.
Shout out Joe, a lot of people, bro. I mean, there's a lot of people. You know who you are.
Yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean?
Yeah, not anybody we're forgetting. Yeah,
you know.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
It kind of feels a little bit different not being over there engineering and being here sitting on the couch. I'd say.
Nah, for real. I mean, literally, you only sit on the couch if I'm there. If I'm sitting there and you're kind of waiting to tap in. Like,
you're on the casting couch right now.
So we filmed some other stuff on that couch. So you guys know we don't clean it.
You should have told me.
No, I'm just kidding. That's Justin.
No, I'm saying when you were filming the other stuff, why didn't you call me?
Yeah, shout out Chuck's girlfriend. No, it's really nice having you boys. Listen, you know.
Oh yeah,
this was cool.
It was a pleasure having you on for sure.
Everything.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, for sure, man. Sounds good.
I think that's about it, man. You wanna do the pleasure or do the honors?
Do the pleasure.
Buffalo experience. I know y'all been hearing this. If you haven't heard of this,
you must be delirious.
What's
happening if you're serious? Nah, for real, man. My name is Moteeks. This is the Buffalo Experience Podcast.
I'm rolling with Big Dave.
I'm Chuck with the
Cully.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Hell yeah.